guys, my name's Lainey and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be making one of my husband's favourite desserts. I'm making a healthy rhubarb crumble. I cannot believe how good the macros are on rhubarb. Honestly, I'm not a fan of rhubarb. I think it has a very bitter taste, but if you like rhubarb, you are going to love this dish. It's very simple to make and you can store it in the fridge or the freezer to enjoy at a later date. And this recipe is 100% vegan. The equipment you're going to need: a sharp knife for chopping your rhubarb, a medium-sized saucepan. No kitchen would be without a weighing scales, a mixing bowl, spatula, and of course a shallow bottom casserole dish. Now on to the ingredients. So for the rhubarb, you are going to just stew your rhubarb. So I've taken about 700 grams of cleaned rhubarb. I'm going to dice it up ready for stewing. For stewing, I'm going to be using some of this Sulkrin Gold sugar substitute. It's awesome for cooking with, and I got this on musclefood.com. You're gonna need the juice of half a lemon, some cinnamon, and a little bit of boiling water. It's that easy. For the crumble, you are going to need some oats. If you use gluten-free oats, then you have a gluten-free recipe. I'm using some organic coconut flour today. You could also opt for almond flour, but the coconut flavouring of the flour enhances the rhubarb. We're also going to need some extra virgin coconut oil and some Walden Farms syrup. Now any 0-calorie syrup will do. This is what I'm using today. Let's get started. I'm dicing the rhubarb into 1-inch long pieces. Try and keep your rhubarb in and around the same size so that it cooks evenly. The best thing about rhubarb is that it has amazing macronutrient content. Per 100 grams of rhubarb, there is only 0.8 grams of carbs. So in 700 grams of rhubarb, you only get 5.6 grams of carbs. I've diced up my rhubarb into 1-inch pieces. They're pretty standard sizing throughout, and I have a half a lemon ready to go. Now all we have to do to stew this rhubarb is add it to a medium-sized saucepan with 25 grams of our sugar substitute and about a teaspoonful of cinnamon. Now you can also add ginger or nutmeg depending on your palate. I like to just add some cinnamon. Got our medium-sized saucepan. I'm just going to simply add in the rhubarb and all the ingredients prior to putting on a medium heat on the stove. You squeeze over your lemon juice, trying to avoid getting any pips in there. Sprinkle on your sugar substitute and then a teaspoonful of cinnamon. I'm going to add in half a glass of boiling water. This prevents the rhubarb from sticking to the bottom of the saucepan. A lot of the juice is going to come out of the rhubarb, so don't be overwhelmed by the amount that is there right now, because this is going to reduce down a lot in size as it cooks. I'm going to stew the rhubarb on a medium heat, and this cooks very quickly, so you just continue to stir it as it heats up. And as the rhubarb is cooking, I'm going to prepare the crumble. I have the oven preheating to 200 Celsius fan assisted oven. The rhubarb reduces down quite quickly. I'm just going to allow the rhubarb to stew. You put the lid on and the steam that comes off the rhubarb cooks itself. While the rhubarb is stewing away, we just leave it on the hob and check it every couple of minutes, give it a stir, but it will literally just cook itself. I'm going to get on with making the crumble. First things first, I'm going to melt down about 15 grams of coconut oil. You don't want it boiling, you just want it softened. This has been on the hob for about 4 minutes. You can see that the bottom bits of rhubarb are already starting to come apart and stew nicely. So you just stir it up, put the lid back on, and it will continue to cook. I'm going to just turn down the heat slightly. So for the crumble, we're going to be using 40 grams of our coconut flour and 25 grams of some regular porridge oats. I like to mix this together with a fork just so the oats and the coconut flour are combined. Now we're going to add the melted coconut oil and some of the 0 sugar syrup. Now we want to get a kind of a breadcrumb effect. We don't want it to be too solid and we don't want it to be too floury. So first of all, add all your coconut oil. Trying to get as much as you can into the mixture. And I like to use a fork so that we can get it into a breadcrumb type consistency. And then just get your fingers in there and work the coconut oil into the mixture. So right now the mixture is still a bit too floury. So we're just gonna add in a teaspoon at a time of the sugar-free syrup because we don't want it to go too cakey. And again, just get your fingers in there and mix it through. The sugar-free syrup adds moisture to the mixture and it also adds sweetness to the mixture. So I think I've almost got it to the right consistency. It feels like damp breadcrumbs right now. I ended up adding in 8 teaspoons in total of the zero syrup. So the consistency you want is that it will hold together but then fall apart. So when you make that into a crumble on top, it will form the proper crumble and not just be a floury consistency. I stirred the rhubarb about 3 or 4 times throughout, and it's now gotten to a point where the rhubarb is fully stewed. Now, it's up to you how you like your stewed fruit, whether you want it to be quite lumpy or whether you want it to be smoother. You just break it up with your spatula as you're cooking it. I've kind of gone for a semi mixture of the two, so I have a few lumpy bits of fruit and then the rest is quite stewed. I like to let it cool a little bit before I add it to my casserole dish, and now it's just going to be simply putting the stewed fruit in first, followed by the crumble on top. It's pretty straightforward, pretty easy. I like to spray my casserole dish with this Frylight butter spray. It does keep the crumble from sticking to your casserole dish. I'll also be using the sprayed butter for on top of the crumble just to allow it to crisp up a little bit in the oven. So now all you have to do is add your fruit in. The coconut oil is going to melt into the flour and the oats and give it a nice crunchy topping. The rhubarb should bubble up through the crumble as well, cooking it further. Here we have our crumble ready to go in the oven. The oven has been preheating to 200 degrees Celsius. We're just going to pop it in for about 15 minutes. The crumble's been in the oven for about 20 minutes, so I'm going to take it out. I think it should be done. And here we have a perfect rhubarb crumble. You can see the crisp coating on top of the crumble and the rhubarb bubbling through at the edges. This rhubarb crumble serves 4 very generous portions. I have all the ingredients and the macronutrient and calorie breakdown listed below in the description. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to this channel, my cooking channel, make sure to subscribe because I have loads of recipes coming soon.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard and